In a shocking twist that no one saw coming, celebrity blogger Perez Hilton has just filed a new set of documents that are lighting the internet on fire and shaking the foundations of the courtroom battle involving Blake Lively and her legal team. What began as a defamation dispute has now morphed into something far more intense and unpredictable, as Perez Hilton, known for his explosive takes and unapologetic attitude, takes direct aim at the judge overseeing the case and calls out what he describes as questionable tactics by Blake Lively's lawyers in these new filings. Perez is not holding back. He lays out allegations that the court is being weaponized to silence commentary and punish creators who dared to speak out and report on the unfolding chaos surrounding this high-profile legal war. The document suggests that Perez has been targeted in a way that goes beyond standard legal procedure, and he makes it clear that he believes this is about sending a message to others in Hollywood to stay quiet or face the consequences. The tension is palpable, the backlash is immediate, and the reaction online is nothing short of explosive, from fans to legal analysts to fellow creators. Everyone is weighing in on what this could mean for the future of free speech in celebrity cases. Perez Hilton isn't just defending himself, he's drawing a line in the sand and daring anyone to cross it. As this story explodes across social media platforms and media outlets alike, one thing is certain: the courtroom drama surrounding Blake Lively is no longer just about her. It's now a full-blown Hollywood wildfire, and Perez Hilton is right in the center of the blaze, demanding accountability, answers, and above all, transparency in a system he now believes may be failing those who tell the truth. Perez Hilton has never been known for subtlety, and once again he has thrown himself into the spotlight with a stunning legal maneuver that calls out not only Blake Lively's legal team, but also the judge presiding over the case. At the heart of the controversy is a newly filed motion that alleges systemic overreach, intimidation tactics, and a growing pattern of what Perez describes as aggressive silencing of media voices. The documents are dense, but the tone is unmistakable. This is war from the first page. Perez outlines his grievances in a measured yet undeniably fiery tone. He accuses the legal team representing Blake Lively of launching what he calls a coordinated campaign to suppress commentary related to the ongoing litigation involving Justin Baldoni, and to set a precedent that would chill free speech across Hollywood, according to Perez. These efforts include the issuance of subpoenas designed not to gather evidence but to scare creators into silence. He says the intent is not discovery, but deterrence. Not truth-seeking, but intimidation. He writes that if speaking truthfully about powerful figures now comes with legal punishment, then the legal system itself has become a tool of censorship and fear. The filings go even further. They detail alleged inconsistencies in the judge's rulings, suggesting a double standard when it comes to who is allowed to speak freely and who is subjected to scrutiny. Perez highlights moments where similar public commentary was allowed by others. Yet his own statements and those of creators like Andy Signore, Candace Owens, and others were met with legal threats, subpoenas, and court orders. It raises serious questions about judicial impartiality and whether the courtroom has become a place where influence and image management take precedence over fairness and transparency. But the most explosive part of the filing is where Perez describes the emotional and financial toll this legal pressure has taken on him. He talks about mounting legal fees, loss of sponsorships, and the way media peers have distanced themselves in fear of becoming the next target. He argues that this is not just about one case. It is about a growing culture in Hollywood where image control is enforced not through publicists but through legal intimidation. He says this is the new form of reputation management, and that creators are being punished simply for reporting on issues that the public has a right to know about. The backlash to this filing was swift. Within hours of the documents being made, public social media erupted. Fans and critics alike rallied to Perez's side, with many saying that regardless of his controversial past, he has a point about the larger implications of this legal battle. One prominent legal analyst posted that if these claims are true, it could open the door to ethics investigations into how subpoenas are being used, and whether the court is being used to manage Hollywood reputation rather than justice. Even more notable was the way creators began speaking out. Emboldened by Perez's move, several smaller commentators who had previously gone quiet on the topic began posting, again sharing their own fears and experiences, and praising Perez for standing up to what they called the Hollywood legal machine. The moment felt like a cultural tipping point where people began to ask whether the legal process is being used fairly. Or, as a weapon of public relations, Perez did not stop with the court filing. Either he took to his podcast that evening and doubled down on his claims. He said on air that he would not be intimidated and that he would continue to fight back against what he calls a system of legal bullying aimed at protecting the elite. He said this is no longer about one celebrity. This is about whether media can operate without fear, in an age where lawsuits are the new press releases as his words spread. The media frenzy only grew. Major outlets picked up the story, quoting directly from the filings and analyzing their implications for the larger legal battle playing out between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. One insider source, reportedly close to the case, said that Blake Lively's team was blindsided by the aggression of the filing and is scrambling to prepare a response. They called it an unprovoked attack, while another source suggested that the documents may have actually made the situation more volatile and could trigger additional filings in response. There is also speculation that the judge may have to issue a statement or clarification to address the claims of bias and selective enforcement made in the documents. While it is unusual for judges to comment on ongoing cases, the intensity of the reaction and the level of public scrutiny might force some kind of acknowledgement. The legal community is watching closely, because if Perez Hilton's claims hold up under scrutiny, they could change the way subpoenas are issued in media-involved cases and could reshape the relationship between celebrity reputation management and the legal system. More importantly, this case could establish new precedent around freedom of speech. For creators, bloggers, and independent journalists covering celebrity news in an era where the lines between entertainment and litigation are increasingly blurred, the question now is whether other creators will follow Perez's lead and take their complaints to the court, or whether the fear of reprisal will keep many silent. For now, the ball is in the court's hands, but the public is paying close attention and the message is clear. The era of quiet compliance may be ending, and a new chapter in Hollywood accountability could just be beginning as the legal firestorm continues to intensify. The courtroom drama surrounding Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, and now Perez Hilton has taken a turn that few could have predicted. The newly filed documents from Perez Hilton are not just a legal response. They are a full-scale declaration that he will no longer be silent in the face of what he calls strategic legal intimidation. Perez outlines a detailed chronology of events, painting a picture of increasing pressure tactics directed at him and other creators who dared to comment on the ongoing legal case. At the core of his complaint is what he describes as a misuse of subpoenas, not for the purpose of truth-seeking, but to monitor, intimidate, and ultimately silence voices that are deemed inconvenient or disruptive to a curated narrative. In one section of the document, Perez points to a subpoena he received which demanded not only private communication, but internal editorial discussions, screenshots, and correspondence with other media figures. He argues that the scope of the subpoena goes far beyond what is reasonable in a defamation case, and instead resembles a fishing expedition designed to uncover potential future targets. He alleges that this level of intrusion is not only invasive but unconstitutional, and threatens the very core of press freedom in the entertainment industry. Perez goes even further, suggesting that some of the legal language used in the court filings from Blake Lively's team seems intentionally vague to allow wide interpretation and therefore wider reach when it comes to enforcement. This, according to him, allows the team to go after content creators, retroactively punishing them for things said before legal lines were even drawn. He calls this a form of retroactive censorship and warns that it is setting a dangerous precedent. In his own words, Perez states that he has seen many legal strategies in Hollywood but never one this aggressive and this calculated. He says the intent is to make an example out of him, to show other bloggers and creators what can happen when they go against powerful Hollywood figures. But he insists that he will not be bullied into submission. Instead, he is choosing to shine a light on what he believes are systemic flaws in the legal process that favor influence over integrity and access over accountability. Legal experts reacting to the filing have weighed in with mixed opinions. While some believe that Perez may be exaggerating the scope of the subpoenas, others agree that the language and breadth of some of the legal requests are unusually broad. One former entertainment lawyer noted that, in cases like this, where public discourse plays a central role, it is crucial to strike a balance between protecting reputation and preserving freedom of expression. They added that if the court appears to favor one side through overly permissive Legal reach, it could call into question the neutrality of the proceedings and undermine public trust in the process. Another prominent voice in the legal community pointed out that while subpoenas are standard tools in litigation, their use must always be proportional and not chilling. In effect, they said that when creators start self-censoring out of fear of being dragged into court, something has gone fundamentally wrong with how the legal system is functioning, particularly in high-profile celebrity cases. As this discussion plays out in courtrooms and media circles alike, Perez continues to fight not just on paper but through his platform. In his most recent podcast episode, he described in painful detail how his mental health has been impacted by the ordeal. He said the stress of waiting for legal documents to arrive, the fear of what might be demanded next, and the sense that no one is safe from scrutiny has created a culture of silence that is antithetical to everything journalism and commentary should stand for. He also addressed his critics, those who have long questioned his style of reporting and his sometimes inflammatory approach. He admitted that he has made mistakes in the past, but insisted that his current fight is not about clicks or controversy. It is about principle. He said he refuses to be a cautionary tale and instead wants to be the turning point where content creators stop retreating in fear and start pushing back with clarity and conviction. As expected, Blake Lively's legal team has not remained silent in response to Perez filing a preliminary statement from her attorneys, labeled the motion as baseless and theatrical, designed more for public spectacle than legal merit. They claimed that all actions taken by the team were within standard legal bounds, and that Perez is misrepresenting routine procedures as persecution. But even with that response, the public narrative continues to shift. Public sentiment on social media is clearly moving in favor of transparency, with many users expressing concern over how quickly creators are being pulled into litigation for commentary that was once considered standard entertainment reporting. Hashtags like Free the Creators and Stop Legal censorship began trending within hours of the filing becoming public, and prominent influencers began using their platforms to voice support for Perez and for the principle that creators should not live in fear of legal retaliation for doing their jobs. Perhaps most significantly, this moment has sparked a renewed conversation about the role of judges in high-profile cases and whether they are doing enough to protect all parties equally and fairly. Critics have pointed to the apparent silence from the bench regarding the aggressive subpoena tactics and suggested that without intervention, the courtroom risks becoming a space where reputation is protected more rigorously than rights. One media law professor speaking anonymously said that courts have a responsibility to weigh the chilling effect of their orders and decisions, especially in cases involving public figures and public interest. They stated that the right to reputation does not override the right to speak, especially when that speech involves commentary about public court proceedings, public filings, or statements already made by celebrities themselves. And this is where Perez Hilton's motion becomes not just a legal filing, but a cultural statement. It has forced the industry to look inward at how it uses the law and how often that law serves to maintain power structures rather than challenge them. The reaction from fellow media professionals has been telling. Many who previously avoided the topic of the Blake Lively lawsuit have now begun engaging with it, posting videos, articles, and even commentary threads that were noticeably absent in the weeks prior to Perez's filing. This suggests that his decision to speak out is already having a ripple effect, emboldening others to break their silence and join the conversation. It is not just about one blogger or one lawsuit. It is about drawing a line in the sand about what kind of media environment we are willing to accept and what role creators are allowed to play in shaping the narrative around celebrity legal battles. At the moment, the legal response from the court is still pending, and it remains unclear how the judge will address the allegations of bias and overreach raised in Perez documents. But one thing is certain, the story has now moved far beyond the original defamation claims between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. It has become a referendum on how the legal system treats media, how creators are viewed in the eyes of the law, and how power attempts to silence dissent through courtroom procedure. Perez Hilton has made his move, and in doing so has challenged not just one celebrity or one courtroom, but an entire industry to reconsider how it defines truth, transparency, and justice in the age of influence. The coming days are likely to bring more reactions, more filings, and possibly even more creators stepping forward with stories of their own. If that happens, then this filing will not just be remembered as a legal move, but as the moment the balance began to shift and the voices at the margins started pushing back with power, clarity, and purpose as the media whirlwind continues to escalate. The implications of Perez Hilton's legal filing are beginning to ripple far beyond the original court case. What started as a dispute between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni has now turned into an open battle over media rights, legal overreach, and Hollywood accountability. And as more content creators, lawyers, and industry insiders weigh in, it becomes increasingly clear that this moment could mark a critical turning point in how celebrity cases are handled in the public eye. In the days following the filing, Perez Hilton has taken to multiple platforms to continue amplifying his message. He released a statement on his website saying that the entertainment industry has become too comfortable using the courts as a tool for intimidation rather than resolution. He emphasized that the freedom to analyze, criticize, and comment on public legal matters must be protected, and that creators should not need to hire lawyers simply for doing their jobs. His remarks were picked up by several major digital outlets, including blogs and podcasts that had previously avoided commenting on the Blake Lively case for fear of legal retaliation. Perez has also been sharing behind-the-scenes details about the pressure he says he faced leading up to the filing, including alleged private messages from individuals close to the case warning him to stay quiet or face consequences. He says he received veiled threats suggesting that if he continued to speak on the matter, it would jeopardize his business partnerships and subject him to deeper legal scrutiny. He described the experience as suffocating, saying that the fear of becoming entangled in an expensive lawsuit has had a chilling effect not just on him, but on dozens of other creators who have gone radio silent out of self-preservation. One of the most startling revelations in Perez's new round of commentary is his claim that several subpoenas issued in connection to the case may have been coordinated in a way that reflects a broader strategy rather than individual legal necessity. He suggests that the pattern of who was targeted when they were targeted and what they were asked to produce points to a larger effort to map the media landscape and identify potential dissenters, rather than to gather concrete evidence. He also points to the timing of certain legal filings, which in his view were strategically placed to coincide with media cycles and to exert maximum pressure on public opinion and commentary. Within those dates, Perez draws attention to the surge in creators who went silent after receiving subpoenas, many of whom he claims had not been directly involved in the legal dispute, but were instead critics of how the case was being handled. He argues that this silence speaks volumes not about guilt, but about fear, and about the increasingly blurred line between legal inquiry and narrative control. Legal analysts have echoed some of these concerns, pointing to what they call legal scope creep. The idea that subpoenas, which were once narrow tools for fact-finding, are now being used as wide nets to gather unrelated or tangential information that can be used to pressure or intimidate third parties. One expert in media law said that courts have a responsibility to examine how their orders affect not just the parties involved, but also the broader ecosystem of commentary that surrounds high-profile litigation. If subpoenas begin to look more like surveillance than discovery, then the entire process becomes suspect, and the public loses faith in its fairness. The fallout from Perez Hilton's filings is also being felt in the creator community. In a recent roundtable livestream hosted by several mid-tier creators, a number of panelists spoke candidly about their own fears surrounding the case. One creator said they had deleted several videos after receiving an informal warning that they might be subpoenaed, while another admitted they have stopped accepting interviews related to the lawsuit for fear of being pulled into litigation. The atmosphere of fear they describe mirrors what Perez has outlined in his filing and suggests a growing tension between free expression and legal pressure, in a world where commentary can become a courtroom liability. At any moment, the roundtable also featured commentary from a digital rights advocate who emphasized that while creators are not above the law, they must be protected from legal processes that are used to suppress. As the dust begins to settle and the court prepares to address the allegations raised by Perez Hilton, one thing has become undeniable. This case has evolved far beyond a simple legal dispute. It has transformed into a pivotal moment for the digital age, where questions about power, influence, fairness, and freedom of speech collide in the harsh light of public scrutiny. What Perez Hilton has done, whether one agrees with his past or not, is put a spotlight on the silent pressure many creators have felt for years. He has taken his platform and used it to challenge not only a powerful legal team, but the very structure of how information is controlled in Hollywood. His filing has sparked a conversation that was long overdue, one about how subpoenas are used, how commentary is treated, and how the courts can sometimes become tools of intimidation rather than instruments of justice. Now more than ever, creators are watching this case closely because they know that what happens next could determine the future of their voice, their reach, and their ability to speak truth to power. If the courts allow this kind of aggressive legal reach to go unchecked, it sends a message that celebrity image is more important than media freedom. But if the court acknowledges the imbalance and the risk of chilling speech, it could reset the boundaries and protect the space creators have carved out in modern storytelling, for Blake Lively, for Perez Hilton, for the media, and for the public. This is more than just a case. It is a crossroads, and whatever the ruling may be, the impact will echo far beyond one courtroom. Because in this moment, Hollywood power is being questioned, and the people are listening louder than ever before.